So if we can get the slides up. Thanks everybody for coming out to the talk today. I'm going to be going over what has kind of been a term that's been picking up a little bit recently, which is Web3 and what Web 3.0 is and what that means. I'm also going to be talking about Polkadot, which is kind of near and dear to my heart and something I've been working on for the last couple years. As I said, I'm VP of Growth at Acala. We are building a DeFi platform on Polkadot, and I'll be going into all of that today. Prior to Acala, where I moved over in about February of this year, I was at Web3 Foundation and helped launch Polkadot and Kusama for about a year and a half. But I wanted, before we get into even what Web3 is and what Polkadot is, I wanted to start with a little bit of a backstory that is a major reason why all of us are sitting here today. Because as we all know, the success of Ethereum is really what led to a lot of this explosion of applications and DeFi and NFTs and everything like that. So in 2013, so almost exactly 8 years ago, Gavin Wood got a message from a guy named Vitalik Buterin and asked him to meet him at a pub in Lancaster, England. So Gavin, Vitalik, and a guy named Johnny Bitcoin, whoever that may be, all met at a pub in Lancaster and talked about this idea that Vitalik had called Ethereum. So Gavin, being a developer, software developer, very interested in Vitalik's idea, took the idea upon himself and actually started building Ethereum. In fact, Gavin actually built the first version of Ethereum in just about 3 weeks. And they went on to build the EVM that we're seeing across all these blockchains today, and building the Solidity programming language and things like that. So here's a little snapshot of an article that was actually posted yesterday by Wired that kind of talks about the history of Web 3.0 and what Gavin and Vitalik built with Ethereum. And as Gavin launched Ethereum with Vitalik and the team, the original team, Gavin also started talking about this concept of Web3 or Web 3.0. This is his original blog that he posted in April of 2014. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but this term of Web3 is really starting to pick up and become a word that we're using to describe everything that all of us in this room are kind of building today. And then here's the article that I mentioned. If you want to write down the link, the headline to Google. This is a Wired article that actually just came out yesterday. Really cool history about everything that I just explained with the history of kind of Ethereum, leading Gavin into Polkadot and Web3. Everything that Gavin and Vitalik and the original Ethereum team built, it took them several years to get this kind of the traction and the uptake of the platform. But as we see today, the current TVL of DeFi on Ethereum right now is about 110 billion. So teams like Maker and Compound and Uniswap and Aave have all done an outstanding job helping to grow the DeFi industry for all of us and give all of us ideas to build upon wherever we may be. Some of the challenges that led to the kind of proliferation of a lot of these layer ones that we're seeing today came from the fact that a lot of these early applications on Ethereum were, the more they grew, the harder they had, the harder the teams had the ability to actually be able to scale and keep up with gas fees and things like this. In addition to that, we needed to move past this era of isolated blockchains. We needed to move to a time where all these blockchains could communicate with one another just like the internet operates today. And although there were some challenges with Ethereum and the scalability and the lack of customization and things like this, we're still continuing to see this EVM, this Ethereum virtual machine, roll out on all these different layer ones. So you can see Aave and Phantom and Polygon, all these layer ones are having quite a bit of success right now with the EVM that Gavin Wood originally built for Ethereum, but it got so much traction, so much developer traction with the Solidity programming language and the tech, all the tools and the tech stack actually working quite well. So this is actually becoming this EVM kind of proliferation across layer ones in the industry. But the question now, it's 2021, so it's almost exactly 8 years since that original meeting between Gavin and Vitalik. So how do we actually move Web3 beyond just building this EVM on every layer one? How do we move beyond that? So after building Ethereum, Gavin and some of the guys on the screen here, you got Rob, let's see, Jeff and Alistair and guys like Sean. These are some of the original people that were building Polkadot and the framework that you used to build on Polkadot, which is called Substrate. So back in 2016, the vision was, what can we do to move beyond Ethereum to begin building a kind of multi-chain universe to connect several blockchains together and help us scale to this next kind of chapter of the crypto industry. So here's a picture of Gavin. This is in Ibiza, Spain in 2016. Gavin and some of the team hosted the original Polkadot meetup in Ibiza, and we're talking about things like Web 3.0 and moving away from the need to trust people, using computation and computers to build in trust into the systems that we're building. So Gavin set up this vision in 2016. Now fast forward 5 years, and Polkadot is finally about to complete its launch on December 18th of this year, when parachains like Acala and Moonbeam and others begin to launch. And I'll get into more of that later and what that means exactly. So the team that I showed you has been building Polkadot, like I said, for about 4 years. And what was built with Polkadot is essentially what this diagram does a good job of kind of explaining. So you're all familiar with Bitcoin, you're familiar with Ethereum. These are isolated networks. Polkadot is building a kind of universe of connected networks or connected blockchains that can all communicate with one another, and also a network that can help secure blockchains without teams having to go through that process of actually securing their chain with all these validators or these nodes. So at its most basic level, this is what Polkadot does. Polkadot connects blockchains together, and Polkadot helps secure blockchains. It's also important to mention what Polkadot is not. So Polkadot is not a smart contract platform. You can't build applications on Polkadot itself. You have to build applications on the blockchains that are connecting to Polkadot. So Polkadot is not a layer one like Ethereum or Solana or Terra or Avalanche, Phantom. Polkadot is one layer below that, connecting together a bunch of layer one blockchains. So here's what that looks like in a little bit of a diagram form. So Polkadot being what we call a layer zero is at the base layer, connecting together these layer one blockchains. Akala being one of them, and I'll explain what we're doing a bit later. But then going up one level, you have teams like Current, teams like SushiSwap. That is where you build applications in the Polkadot ecosystem. You don't build applications on Polkadot directly. Same thing to the right, just the comparison in the Ethereum world. You have Ethereum being a layer one blockchain, and then one layer up, of course, you've got the DeFi applications that we all know. If you're wondering what Polkadot can compare to, there's currently no network on the market that actually is kind of a comparable to Polkadot until we have ETH2 launching. So Ethereum 2 is the same kind of concept as Polkadot with this beacon chain that connects multiple shards together. Polkadot has a relay chain that connects parachains together. So once ETH2 is out, there will finally be a way to compare Polkadot to something else. I won't go through all of these, but a couple problems that Polkadot's solving that I think are important to mention. So bottom left, Polkadot enables teams like Akala, like any other parachain team, to completely customize their blockchain for a specific purpose or use cases. Teams like Ethereum have done such an excellent job and gotten so much kind of market demand, but they're building a kind of a generic chain trying to do everything at once. So trying to do gaming, finance, NFTs, what have you. Whereas with Polkadot, it's kind of a bet on specialization. So we're building blockchains specifically for NFTs, another blockchain specifically for DeFi, another blockchain specifically for gaming. So we're betting on these customized chains being more useful and more scalable going forward, and knowing that since they're all connected, even if you're just building a gaming chain, if you need a stable coin, or if you need something like a DeFi functionality, you can, in the end, connect to those chains for that specific purpose. So next, I'm gonna keep going. The clock says I'm finished, but it's only been about 10 minutes. So what Polkadot is, here's a couple more words that you just have to know as you get familiar with Polkadot. So as I mentioned, Polkadot has this core relay chain that we call it, which is kind of the core of Polkadot that connects everything together. This is equivalent to the beacon chain on ETH2. And then parachains are all of the blockchains that are connecting to Polkadot for that connectivity to the other blockchains and for the security that Polkadot provides to all of those networks. So all of these parachains that I've zoomed in on one here, I'm going to go to the next slide. All of these parachains, they can be smart contract platforms if they want, which means that you can build applications on these parachains. These parachains are layer 1 blockchains, so teams like Acala, teams like Moonbeam are the equivalent of the Solanas and Terras and Ethereums of the world because they're being connected by this layer 0 of Polkadot. And as I mentioned before, all of these parachains are sharing in Polkadot's security instead of needing to do all of that on their own. So this is a look at the current kind of setup of the Polkadot parachain ecosystem. So these are all the teams that are building on Polkadot. It's meant to be something that you can't exactly read, just to get across the point that there's a lot of teams building. Here's just for kind of this conference being an NFT and DeFi conference, here's a few examples. You've got Remark, and Engine is building Efinity for NFTs, Unique. These are kind of the NFT platforms that are going to be built. Acala is building a DeFi-specific parachain, and then there's a team called BitCountry who's building a metaverse out on Polkadot as well as Kusama. So if you're following Polkadot at all, you may know that this has been a pretty significant last couple weeks. We finally started this process called Parachain slot auctions. Polkadot's a little bit unique. Gavin and the team came up with this model where, as a parachain, you actually have to win an auction against other teams in order to earn the right to launch on Polkadot. So the last 2 weeks, Akala, my team was the first team to win a parachain auction on Polkadot. The community contributed about $1.3 billion in DOT in support of Akala. That DOT all gets kind of locked away, almost like a lease on an apartment. We're leasing a slot on Polkadot for 2 years with this DOT. After 2 years, all of that DOT will be returned to people, and then we'll have to renew that slot in 2 years. The first 5 teams, so we're currently about, what is it? Yeah, we're about 2 days before the end of auction number 3. And then we'll have auction 4, auction 5, and then the first 5 teams that win these auctions will all begin launching on December 18th. So we're all very excited. We've got actually a lot of the team from Akala are here. We're spending a lot of time right now preparing for the next phase, which is actually launching on Polkadot and rolling out all of our products. I'm going to get into exactly what those products are in a second. But if you are curious about like what I'm talking about with these parachain auctions and crowd loans, it would take me another 15, 20 minutes to explain all of that. So I put a QR code here directly to a Twitter thread that I did on this whole topic. If you want to scan that and just save it, bookmark it, and take a read, because it's quite a process to learn, but it's really interesting and cool. Okay, so we've gone over Web 3.0, we've gone over the history of kind of Ethereum and Polkadot, and I've explained to you how Polkadot is set up and why it was built. So let's zoom in to one of these parachains that was built specifically for DeFi. So the origin of Akala is actually pretty interesting. So there's 4 co-founders of Akala, and the 4 of them were actually building a synthetic asset protocol or application on Ethereum. But they started realizing that this Ethereum tech wasn't going to be scalable, just like I was talking about earlier. So they started exploring other options for building Akala. So they started looking at Cosmos, they looked at Polkadot, they looked at other ecosystems. And because of the customizability that Substrate offers, the framework that we use for building blockchains, and the interoperability between these chains, as well as just the technical prowess and history of Gavin and this team that he has behind him. Rui Tao, Betty, Brian, and Fuyao all decided that they would build on Polkadot. And not only would they just be building an application on Polkadot, but they realized that there was a much bigger challenge to solve, which was to provide a decentralized stablecoin to the entire Polkadot ecosystem, just like DAI has done for the Ethereum ecosystem. So the four of the co-founders, most of them, three of them are based in Auckland, New Zealand, unfortunately still in full lockdown from COVID, and then Fuyao is in China. This is our team that we work with day in and day out, and amazing co-founders to work for. What Akala is we're building what's going to be very soon the DeFi and liquidity hub of the Polkadot ecosystem. And this is going back to my comments about the EVM being used everywhere. The EVM is also going to be rolling into a lot of these Polkadot-based blockchains for now. This is definitely not the end game. Like Gavin didn't build Polkadot for Ethereum to just be built on Polkadot. This is more of a midterm game where we know there's a lot of developer adoption. We know there's a lot of applications that have already been built for Ethereum. So we're also providing an Ethereum-compatible platform for these developers and these teams to launch. But we've customized the blockchain. Imagine Ethereum being customized specifically for DeFi. We've built DeFi features and functionality into our blockchain itself so that DeFi applications, NFT applications, building on Acala can have a much more kind of optimal environment rather than building on a generic blockchain. Some of our backers that just helped us get here, I know Coin Fund is here, so thanks for all of our backers to helping us kind of get to this point. But just so you can understand what I mean by these products being built into the chain. So we've built AUSD, which will be the kind of de facto stablecoin of the Polkadot ecosystem. And it's a decentralized stablecoin similar to the DAIs and the USTs of the world. We also have a treasury that already has about $80 million in protocol-owned liquidity. So we'll be able to use that liquidity to help kind of drive this engine of the network. And here's a look kind of just if you turn this into a diagram, starting at Polkadot at the bottom, all these products that I mentioned are built into the blockchain itself, that middle layer. And then going up one, this is where applications will be built. So we'll have money markets being built. We'll have kind of curve-like products for kind of similar or uniform assets. We'll have decentralized exchanges and all of the rest. And as I mentioned, we've got this Acala treasury that already has a significant amount of DOT in it, which will be yield bearing. So the DOT will be earning yield from the Polkadot staking, which is about 12%. And that will be able to drive the growth of the network through this kind of DeFi 2.0 model that you guys may have recently read about. I've got a couple more minutes, so just to mention a few for the Bitcoin people in the room. If you're wondering if Bitcoin and Ethereum will be coming to Polkadot, the answer is absolutely yes. There's bridges that are being built directly to Polkadot from teams like Snowfork and Interlay. And then there's also teams like Compound who gave us a grant to build a bridge directly to Compound, RenBTC, and the likes. And just to wrap up, so these are the stats from the recent Parachain auction. Although we won the first auction, which is great and all, but that doesn't really matter compared to what these stats show. We had over 80,000 on-chain contributors. So these are people who actually downloaded the Polkadot wallet, got DOT into their wallet, and contributed to the crowd loan on-chain. This means that there will be 81,000 people receiving ACA tokens and being DeFi users ready to go the day that we launch. We also had 32 million DOT contributed to our crowd loan. So this is initial liquidity that we can capture from day one. Now last, I'll just leave you with something. If a lot of this seems kind of conceptual and high level, I just want to make it real for you with an example kind of from the real world. So Current.com is a fintech company based here in the United States in New York. They've got about 3 million customers using this app for savings accounts. Current actually has been following the evolution of Polkadot and Ethereum and then Acala, and they actually approached us wanting to build a product to bring DeFi yield to their users, so Web2 users using an app on their iPhone or on their mobile phone, but bringing them DeFi yield without the users really having to interact with crypto or private keys or MetaMask or anything like that. One day, these users are just going to open up their app and get offered this new product that might say 3% or 4%, for example. And little do they know that DeFi is being generated from Acala and sent into US dollars and distributed to their customers using Acala as a backend. So this is an example of what we're calling hybrid finance or hi-fi that we'll be rolling out with Current, but then also rolling out with many other DeFi and fintech companies going forward. So that's it for my presentation. Acala, like I said, launches on December 18th. And I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the history of Web3, of Ethereum, of Polkadot. If you want to follow me and read all my tweets about Polkadot and Kusama and Acala and all of this, feel free. But yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate the conference for hosting me, and thanks for your attention.